Welcome to the Studio Chat podcast. My name is Barbara Thompson. Each week I'll be bringing you a self-care expert or a message to help you to discover how to live your best life and understand your mind-body connection. Thanks for spending some time with me today. Now, let the Studio Chat begin. Welcome to this episode of Studio Chat podcast. Today we're going to be talking about spiritual self-care with beautiful Lana. I have had the pleasure of connecting with Lana a couple of times all about spiritual self-care. And it's going to be such a fascinating podcast today because the spiritual side for me was non-existent till maybe a few years ago. But within me, if I look back, even as a kid, it was all there. It was very present. I'm very protected from whatever you believe in that kind of realm. And it wasn't until I moved to Australia that things got louder and louder. And that world was like, you're going to listen to us. You're going to pay attention. We're going to send some people to you that are going to help you through the darkest times of your life. And so just meeting Lana, the reason why I've got her on today is she's one of the most authentic, real, beautiful people I've ever met. And especially in this space, like as in counseling or spiritual, people come to you when they're really vulnerable. They may have gone through grief. You may be going through grief now. You may be going through a point in your life where you're lost. You may be in a troubled relationship. You may be trying to conceive. You may be trying to build a business. You may be whatever it is. And you need answers. Like you just feel a little bit lost and you're just not sure where to go. So I think this podcast will be for you. And to also know a bit about spiritual, like what is spiritual self-care. So I'm really excited and I'd love to have a warm welcome to Lana. Hello.
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
I'm really excited about this because there's a lot that I still don't know. And my podcast is all about bringing authentic people to this platform, but also sharing your gift, what you do, and helping us as women to care for ourselves because we just really don't know how, especially in today's world. We find that we do the same thing all the time, maybe the same diet all the time. It may be just wearing the same makeup all the time. It may be, I'll go get a massage one day, but it's too expensive. Or I might want to do meditation, but I don't know. Or I might, you know what I mean? It was all full of that stuff. And I want this platform for you to connect with my listeners and my followers so they can reach out to you if they need a bit of helping hand in the spiritual self-care side of things. Mm-hmm. So I'd love for you to share a little bit about, if you can share a little bit about you, Lana, like what you do and where you're from.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm based in the Wallumbilla Shire, which is a beautiful part just outside of Sydney in Australia. I work in person with clients and also from home over things like Zoom, phone call. And what I like to work with clients with is they usually come to me when they're going through big periods of change in their life, where they might need a bit of meaning, where they might need a bit of insight. And I am a spiritual counsellor and also a working psychic medium and astrologer. So I will use...
Can I just pause on those things there? So can you repeat those again? You're a spiritual counsellor?
Yep.
So what's that?
Yeah, so a spiritual counsellor is someone who is a counsellor by trade, or they will use counselling approaches like CBT, ACT, or mindfulness, different, or whatever their niche is, to help people find purpose and to find their way through some of the deeper issues in life. Some people might refer to them as like spiritual advisors, healers, all that kind of stuff. I'm not big with labels.
Yeah.
But most people come to me during those times for those reasons.
And especially after the last couple of years, I think a lot of people listening to this may be a little bit lost and need direction, so they could come to you for like spiritual counselling side of things. And then the other thing that you mentioned was I hope I don't screw this up when I say it, psychic medium.
Yeah.
I just got goosebumps when I said that. And I'm still new to all of this stuff, so no disrespect to the spiritual community if you hear me make noises today or go, I'm learning and it's awesome, and my body just is going hard out with goosebumps. So this is cool.
Yes.
So what is a psychic medium?
Yeah, so a psychic medium is someone who is a natural psychic and also someone who is a medium. So there is a little bit of a difference there. Psychic people we're all a bit psychic in our own way. We've all got intuition. But psychics tend to work in reading energy. So they can read energy from like past, present, future. They can read energy of like objects and all those cool things we kind of see maybe on TV or in movies or all that kind of amazing stuff. Whereas mediums tend to be more of a channel. So mediums tend to connect with the spirit world. They can connect with our past loved ones, pets, all that kind of thing. And for me, I embody both there, so I can do both things.
Can you do both at the same time?
Sometimes, yeah, it depends I have big trust in my spirit guides and in spirit. So whatever they want to show my beautiful clients at the time, we just tend to roll with it. Yeah.
Oh. And I should have asked you before we hit record. There's nothing off limits that I can ask you, right?
Not at all. Let it rip.
I'm just kind of asking you all these questions about what you do and thinking, oh, anyway, you know me, I'm just authentic and I'll just ask you. So
I'm loving it. For it.
Medium. Okay, so why would someone come to you for? And I know a lot of people know about this type of channel now because it's on TV, books are published, like it's very well known. But I think even from my own personal experience, I've used that type of work, and with you too, when I have been in a really dark spot where I'm just like, I know things are going to get better, but I really don't feel like it right now. Like it can just be. And it's just something to give you a bit of belief. And I never used to trust it for a really long, not that I didn't used to trust it, because I've been alone for such a long time in many aspects of my life and had to have my own back. It's so refreshing to just be able to have a chat with someone that's out of your family or friend circle to ask the tough questions or, you know, and they'll never tell you like really, really bad things, but it's something just to give you a bit of guidance and just a bit of help.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, absolutely.
And what was the other thing that you mentioned that you do?
An astrologer. So
wow, okay. So what would you do? Why would someone what's the astrology side of self-care?
Absolutely. So astrology, if you've ever read your horoscope in the newspaper, you're into astrology. So there's a few different types of astrology. I tend to follow more the Western astrology, so like the zodiac signs, you know, like your Aquarius, Pisces, all that kind of stuff. And the particular branch of astrology that I do and have been sort of learning over 25 years, so I've been doing this probably the longest.
Wow.
Yeah.
I can take credit for that. That's a long time.
Absolutely. So my branch of astrology that I work and I'm passionate about working with clients is called evolutionary astrology. And what that embodies is things like a natal chart. So the day you were born, the position of the planets and the stars and celestial bodies, it all has a meaning on your personality, your path, your purpose, soulmates, all that kind of stuff.
I'm sorry, when you said soulmates, you got an apple in your in your throat. I think that was meant for me.
Throat chakra clearing.
He's coming. I know he's coming. Anyway, sorry.
No, that's all good. It's all good. So yeah, we can use a natal chart to divine so many amazing things about your path, your purpose, to find meaning in bits of your life and within yourself. Even things like past lives, we can go into that, which is another beautiful branch of the modalities that I use with my beautiful clients. We can also look at with evolutionary astrology. So we look at things like ancestral lines, family history, karma that might come through there that might be on your shoulders this lifetime, and things like archetypes within the self, maybe what you're going through. These can help give us amazing meaning and stuff.
Yeah, so joining all those together, I think self-care with all of those is like if anyone's listening to this now and you're in a place where you feel divided, you've got a decision to make, you're lost, you're confused, you'd like a bit of direction, or you're curious to know a bit about your astrology, like what makes you, where have you come from, and even just dabbling into that side of things. I think by them my listeners reaching out to you, you'd guide them to what would be best for them. So they don't really need to worry if they listen to all that and it's a bit overwhelming and they're like, oh my gosh, I love the sound of spiritual self-care, but I don't know where to start. They can just reach out to you, can't they? And you can actually help them and guide them to what would be best for them.
Absolutely, 100%. We can start at the top level, and we can go deep. If you're ready to take the plunge, we can go as deep as you like. But there's definitely a level for everyone here, no matter what you believe in, no matter where you're comfortable. It's all about you and your path, and that's the main thing here.
Oh, that's so beautiful. I know the chat's going to be wonderful today. So let's talk about spiritual self-care and how does it differ from the physical side or the mental side or the emotional side of self-care?
Absolutely. So I guess a really good way to start off this is to kind of define, like find a little bit of a definition of self-care, because there are a few different definitions out there. And we're all kind of familiar with, like, looking after our body, looking after our mind, looking after our emotional health. But spiritual self-care takes it to the next level. And it does kind of intertwine with these other areas as well. They all play out together. But spiritual self-care is very strongly focused on your energy and on your spirituality. And it will usually involve practices, a deeper understanding and exploration of your spiritual self in context of the whole self. So I hope that makes sense. I hope I articulated that well.
Yeah, that's beautiful. It's why is spiritual self-care important?
Oh yeah, so it's important because there's going to be times in life that we come across challenges, hardships, where we hit those existential questions of why am I here? What's my purpose? Why do I keep attracting the same dickhead over and over again? Or, little things like that will pop up, and they will help to prompt us to reconnect with that side of ourselves. If you're a natural empath or a highly sensitive person, spiritual self-care should be right up on your priority list, looking after your energy. So there's quite a bit more I could sort of go with this as well. It's important because spiritual self-care helps to connect us with our inner self and spirit.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So our inner self, like, would you say that's like our core of who we are?
Yeah, absolutely. I love using the analogy of a glove here. It's kind of like if we picture a glove, it can kind of sit there. We can, maybe hang it on a clothesline or throw it in the drawer or whatever. But without a hand to put in the glove, it's just a glove. When we put our sort of hand in there, we are able to move it, we're able to use it, we're able to give it meaning and purpose. Yeah. And in that same way, we can liken the glove to our physical body and our hand to kind of our spiritual body and our soul. And so when we find that connection, we find that purpose and that meaning.
And that's what they say, the mind-body connection or mind-body-soul connection, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's a big part of like holistic mental health and holistic well-being is bringing them all into balance and alignment. Sure.
Yeah, and animals know spiritual self-care.
Yes.
With my dog just telling my cat to get out of the room. Off you go. Wow, it's been an exciting day. Okay, so that's okay. That I love the analogy. That really makes sense. So, what are some signs that we may need to engage or even start with spiritual self-care? What are some signs, do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. So, normally your physical self will send off signs first. So if you're feeling exhausted, if you're feeling drained and irritable, I
put my finger up. I was like, yes, tick.
Yeah. And you know what? You'll often notice this usually during times where you're moving through periods of big change, transformation, or upheaval. If you've been feeling withdrawn or lacking motivation, purpose, or direction, if you're feeling a bit disconnected from yourself and you're just not sure who you are or what you believe in anymore. If you've been feeling stagnant, stuck, or misaligned, so if things just keep causing frustration, or you just feel really blocked, this is a great time to connect with your spiritual self-care. If your energy feels really heavy, or you just take on everyone's drama or problems or emotions as your own, this is something that might warrant a bit of self-care. And also, of course, if you're feeling yourself searching for something more than just the physical stuff in life, if you're wanting more than just paying bills and seeing the same people, we're on that search and on that path.
Wow. You know what? I think you've connected a lot of people right now that are listening to this, myself included, because we all go through different seasons, right? So, I find throughout my life, I've gone through parts that are like, you feel everything's connected and yes, this is really great. And then you go through parts where you just go, oh, I'm really feel heavy and I feel really stuck and I feel drained and, that kind of feeling is the best feeling for me to say. And that's where spiritual self-care absolutely comes in. So are there times in our lives, obviously what I've just expressed is probably a time that we need to do more of spiritual self-care. But are there any other times that you think that we may need to up our game as in doing more?
Yeah, so look, it's very personal. It's something that we all connect to in our own way, in our own sort of times in life. It's important to acknowledge that when you need to do the self-care, your body and your spirit will let you know. And so you'll often be prompted into these ways, whether you're dragged kicking and screaming or going, I fucking hate this is bullshit. Or if you're kind of just feeling that into that void and just being like, maybe I want to explore something more here. It's important to acknowledge that both scenarios are okay.
Yeah, I think you're in that because that's why I love you for this is you're real.
Thanks.
And I want anyone to know that if they're going to come and see you or work with you, that you are authentic and that you're real. And that's just really important when you want to open yourself up to someone and share this kind of stuff. And what are some ideas? I know obviously coming to work with you and alongside you either in person or online, but are there any tips that you can give anyone listening today just for some ideas of what spiritual self-care could look like?
Yeah, absolutely. The best sort of tip I could offer here is to consider what helps you personally feel aligned, connected, and uplifted. So think about things like, what helps raise your vibration? What gets you from 0 to 10? Is it a funky, some tune or music? Is it your favorite song? Is it your favorite person? Is it your favorite podcast, perhaps?
No, like what you did there.
Yeah, is it a run? Is it just, smashing out some stuff on a boxing bag? Think about what helps lift your vibration and your energy. And who lifts you up? Are you surrounding yourself with the best people that nourish and uplift you or that drain you? Consider that. What helps you feel balanced and grounded during stressful or low periods as well? Because self-care is very much about being aware of these kinds of things and putting boundaries or things in place to honour your own energy as well. So some really great ways that work in the space of spiritual self-care are things like meditation. And meditation doesn't have to be, sitting and chanting and that kind of thing. It can be anything that helps you feel connected and present in the moment, whether it's a walk in nature, whether it's some colouring in, whether it's just some deep breaths or a cup of tea or something like that. Mindfulness is a huge part of what I love to work with clients on because it's so simple but so powerful in keeping us present and aware. Nature is an amazing thing for spiritual self-care because it's so uplifting, and especially, there's a lot of scientific studies and practices, things like Shinrin-yoku, like forest bathing. Anyone who loves the beach, a nice trip to the beach is an amazing thing for energy. Something about that salt water and that salty air and that beautiful uplifting space. Time with your pet. Animals have an amazing ability to lift vibration and to help. It's not uncommon for a lot of spiritually sensitive people or empaths or energetically sensitive people to have animals around them. or to attract random animals, because animals are just beautiful.
Yeah.
That space. But yeah, there's a lot we could do. Create your favorite playlist of like power songs that uplift and inspire you. Practice gratitude, practice affirmations, journal. Things like prayer, chanting, even just, giving thanks for your day or asking for what you need mindfully. Really, really great ways to connect inward. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. That's just so powerful. I just want to give it a couple of minutes to sink in. You've just shared a lot of helpful tips for people. And when we focus on like the words energy or being energetic with our self-care, I think that will be a nice shift for us to kind of move into, because you've mentioned your energy and protecting your energy, and part of what I do too is it's not only just, and for me it was a huge part of my life and my healing and my moving forward, was I didn't realize the type of people I had around me and how that affected me more so than how I was training or what I was eating or how I was living. It was the people, my energy, because my energy is very powerful, and there's so much of it that people love. Like as a little kid, people love taking it away from me because I have so much.
Yeah.
But also it can be very dangerous too if you've got energy that people always love hanging around you, want to be around you because you make them feel good. You've got to make sure that you make yourself feel good too. So let's just talk about energy for a minute. I think it's really important to highlight this. So what is energetic self-care and why is that important?
Yeah. So energetic self-care is essentially self-care for your energy. So looking after your energy. We're all comprised of energy, of waves, of frequency. If you are familiar with things like the chakras and that, so these are our beautiful energy centers in the middle of, I guess, our sort of spiritual body. Energetic self-care has a lot to do with just being mindful of your energy, what comes in, what comes out, and how that affects your mental, physical, emotional bodies as well as your whole self.
When you say energy coming in,
what does
that look like? Is that everything we read, everything we see, the people we hang around?
All of that, absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, so it's okay, because most people will be like, oh yeah, well, what's energy?
Yeah, that's a great question.
So what would energetic, we've just talked about spiritual self-care, what would energetic self-care involve, or what might it involve?
Yeah, beautiful. So a good place to start with energetic self-care is learning to be aware of your own energy. So we've all got our own, and I guess this is where I love to connect with clients to explore like their natal chart and their personal astrology, because this will give us insights into what you're like as a person, where your strengths lie, where your challenges lie, where you might be your best friend and your own worst enemy. And so looking at these gives us great insight, especially if you're not quite sure like what you put out there or what resonates with you. We're given great context into your energetic body here.
Energetic body. Even though we're on Zoom today,
I'm
going to put myself out there. God help me. Can you see energy?
Some people can. For me, it depends on the person and usually how open they are. If they're open with me, then I'm usually able to see their energy. I wouldn't say I'm sort of an aura reader or anything. I know there are some amazing people out there that can see colours and auras and that. Yeah, for me, I will more likely see your guides or things around you or your past loved ones.
Can you see things around me right now without freaking me out?
Yeah, I can see a few energies around you at the moment. Some of them feel like family, which is beautiful. Yeah, always there. And it's more, I tend to connect with the people who have your back or the people that you carry in your energy field. I am a people person, I have to admit. So
that's beautiful. Yeah, okay, so that's how you see that. Okay. Wow, that's so cool. Hello, everyone joining us today. Nice to have you here, I'm sure. Yeah. All right. So I kind of know the answer to this, but I really want to see your perspective on things.
Yeah.
What drains our energy?
Great question. Really, really great question. There's a lot of different things that can drain energy. People, number one, we can, whether we're conscious of it or not, whether it's our intention or not, we all can have that tendency to drain other people with things that we need or things we expect, blah, blah, blah. So people can be, especially if there are some people around you who might be really needy with you or reliant on you, especially mums is usually the first one. I see a lot of beautiful mums there who, it just comes with looking after children or looking after the people around you, which I think is why I really love your podcast, Barbara, where you focus a lot with like mums and women. We give a lot of ourselves out there and a lot's sort of expected from us. So, but, things that also drain our energy can be, like media. It can be memories. It can be traumas. It can be lots of different things that sort of take that power and that energy away from us.
Even if we've all been through some form of pain. If we haven't, we're going to at some point of our life, pain, grief, trauma, tough times, hard times. And I know a lot of us, if we're not ready to, a lot of people, and this is really human nature, guys. So if you do this, there's no right or wrong here, but we push it down because we don't like uncomfortable feelings. We don't like feeling things. And most of the time it's how we're taught. Don't cry or shut up or be quiet. So you push those feelings down. But I think a lot of people don't realize that they can only be pushed down for so much for so long, and then they're going to come out in different ways.
Absolutely.
And I think when you said, when I asked you the question is, what drains our energy, I think a lot of it may be stuff that's in you that you don't want to talk about, you don't want to deal with, you're just shutting off because it's easier, I don't want to deal with it. But if you're tired all the time and you feel really lost, and I think drained is the only way to explain it, that could be why?
Absolutely. And that actually segues into a really important part of energy self-care and spiritual self-care, which is something called shadow work. So for those
That's scary. What's that?
It does sound a little scary and intimidating. It's actually a term attributed to Carl Jung, who sort of identified and did a lot of work with something called the shadow self in our archetypes. It's essentially that part of ourself that we bury or repress or kind of shame a little bit or hide away, hence the term shadow. But it will always follow us around until we acknowledge and integrate that. And so it's not, we all have to do this work. At some point, we've all got to face the ugly, nasty, shameful bits of ourselves as part of our journey through energetic and self-care, because it's realizing, what is it where are we our own worst enemy? What are we carrying that we don't really have to? It all helps us bring us back to wholeness in some way.
Wow. So what would that look like? Was that something that obviously you need to see someone to guide you and help you with to get started?
Yeah, definitely. Because it can be quite a confronting practice. It's a good idea if you are struggling with that to talk to someone, reach out, whether it's a friend, whether it's a counsellor or a therapist. There's usually quite a bit of like journaling involved and self-reflection. It can bring up a lot of, there's obviously times in our lives where these parts of ourselves are triggered and we repress it or we form a defense because of it.
It's all normal stuff. I want to normalize it. I want to normalize when we're not okay. I want to normalize that if you push things down and cover it with alcohol or overeating or undereating or not caring for yourself, that you're not alone. Absolutely. And I want it to be okay when you're not okay, like to have that safe space. Because when I was going through all that stuff, I just had to find things myself, and luckily there's something in me that's inbuilt that God help me, I just keep going. It's like, keep going, Barbara, it's going to get better. And everyone's like, you're so strong. That's something I hear all the time. Oh, you're so strong. But I don't think it's strength. That's where I believe it's not me that's doing the work. It's something else that's pushing me to do this, because I'm just like everyone else. No different, but everyone's like, oh, you're so strong. but it's that inner, it's not me, that's pushing forward, that knows that this is great, it's bigger than me. And I think that's the gift that I can give back to people, like this podcast and other things, is if I can help you with one thing, is for anyone listening to know that you're not alone, and that it is really hard, but you've always got someone out there that can help you, and just to keep going. But to normalize that we all go through hard times, because on the surface we all see everyone's highlight reel. We look at everyone. It's not until you start talking to your closest friends, or you go to see someone and they're like, oh yeah, I'm really sorry you're going through this, but I've had this too. And you're like, oh, I had no idea.
Yeah, absolutely.
So to normalize that, and I think too, when we're in that place, what can restore our energy? So if we're feeling really drained, and obviously we can do all these self-care, spiritual self-care, energetic self-care, whatever we need at that time, but what can fill our cup a little bit? What can restore this energy that we're losing?
Yeah, that's excellent. I'm really glad that you mentioned that. So if you are kind of lost in that darkness a little bit, or you're going through it, rule number one, remember that you aren't alone. We are all very much here walking our own paths, but walking, what's that beautiful quote? It's kind of like we're all walking each other home in a way, same storm, different boat.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, that's right. You're not alone. And on some level, it's important to acknowledge that what you're going through is significant, that it's not necessarily a condemnation or everything's happening to me kind of moment. Rather, it's a moment for you to kind of stand in your power and call it back and be like, you know what? I've been through hard things before. I can do this. And to find that beautiful power, to call your power back, to call your energy back from whether, it was someone that may have taken that from you at some point in your life, or made you feel like you had no power or control over your own life, or ashamed or humiliated in some way. Taking that back and saying, fuck you. I'm not that person. Actually, the love and light side of me is kind of like, thank you for the lesson. The human side of me is like, no, not anymore, no longer. And then the love and light side of me is kind of like, thank you for the lesson. I take this and move forward. But it's important to acknowledge the human side too. It's okay to absolutely let that frustration and those emotions out, those shadow emotions that we often repress, anger, betrayals of disgust, all those sort of things. We've got to find a healthy channel for that. And then from there, we're able to sort of look at the bigger picture, which can help us move through those situations and think, you know what, okay, there's obviously what's the reason behind this? What have I learned from this? And how can I use that to move forward? I hope I articulated that well.
Yeah, I'm just thinking what can restore that energy though? So what can make us, if we're in that spot, well, we just, like in the beginning of this episode, we talked about what drains us. If we what can restore us that make us feel a little bit better? Definitely.
So in that moment, kind of acknowledge, okay, maybe I'm not okay. So acknowledgement is usually the first sort of thing here. The second thing would be to maybe, if you have this awareness, to sort of look at, okay, where is my energy going right now, and what's the most draining part of it? But that's obviously something that you can develop and work through as well. Physical self-care, huge. Especially if you're going through, or if you're getting a physical response to some of these things. There's some beautiful things like practices that involve maybe like tapping or self-soothing or breathing, grounding, which are really important to take care of just that physical space in that moment. And then once you're sort of grounded and back in your body, or you're present, then you're better able to kind of navigate what you're going to do with these emotions or with what's coming up for you, and move forward that way. Yeah,
that's really interesting. And a lot of people talk about cleansing. It's something I know with the younger kids, even at high school, that it's a bit trendy now to have crystals and sage and burn stuff. And like, I'm all really green on that. I'll never pretend I'm all over that. I never will be. It's okay. So I've got people like you to ask questions, ask my silly questions too. But that's a side that's coming more and more. I guess that is a form of energy and spiritual self-care, is the crystals and the incense and the sage and the clearing and cleansing. So if anyone's listening to this, how am I on the right path of what cleanses energy?
Yeah, so that's a really great question. And there's lots of things that work in different ways to help cleanse energy. So a few of the methods that you've mentioned there, things like crystals, smudge, which is another word like sage, or herb bundles that you might light and use sacred smoke, that kind of way, are very popular with people to help cleanse and restore energy. There's also a thing with salt as well. Salt is an incredible clearer for energy, which is why anyone who goes for a dip in the ocean or has a nice salt bath, you do feel that genuine change in you feel lighter. You feel kind of like, oh, that's better.
So salt, yes.
Yes, okay. I'm a big salty person. I like it.
I love that. Yeah, that's a good one. Anything else? Anything that we can put into our body? So we've talked a lot about the outside, the energy on the outside, or the salt baths and the salt.
Yeah.
What can we put anything in our body to cleanse our body?
Yeah, definitely. So diet plays a huge part in our vibration. So eating sort of foods that are natural, that are, sort of whole, that aren't overly processed. And I mean, anyone who's ever, no shade here, guilty as hell, like one day just don't feel like cooking, I'll just pick up some Maccas or something on the way home, compared to like, eating something that you might make or something from the garden. You can feel the vibration shift. If anyone's ever, had a Big Mac or something, and then an hour or two later just been like, I really shouldn't have eaten that, or I feel like I have no energy.
Yeah, I love how you've explained that. Rather than the food being good or bad, it's about the energetic part of the food.
Exactly.
And connecting your mind to your body, and that's what I'm all about, is seeing how you feel. Because it's interesting, last week I was working with interesting you brought this up too, because I've been working with a lot of clients lately that have a lot of intolerances with certain types of foods.
Mm-hmm.
And just because something on a whole food list or something on a list that is deemed really great for our bodies, it doesn't necessarily mean that food's for you. So I was reading a case study where there was a client that went into a practitioner's office and they had a lot of gut issues and a lot of gut pain, a lot of gas. And they had a look at what this client was eating, and they were eating quite a few apples a day. And they said, let's cut the apples out. And the client said, well, why? Because apples are good for us, aren't they? Absolutely they are, but probably not for you. And it was interesting because as soon as you cut the apples out, that client was fine. And so that's another thing, is to work out with your energy. Just because someone says that it's good, this is the time that you need to kind of listen to yourself and what feels right for you, because your body doesn't lie.
Yeah.
As much as we hate it sometimes and we don't listen to it for most of our lives, but if you've gone through some kind of hardship or trauma, and like anxiety saved my life from a really dangerous relationship. So at times, that part always comes back to me when I'm having a hard day and I go, hang on, my body, I love it because it saved my life. And I'm here today for my body. So I've got to thank my body. And then I've also got to realize that it's always trying to help me. I don't know where we picked up this thing that it's working against us, or it's broken, or it doesn't know because it knows. So if we're eating something, and it doesn't matter, there's some people in this world that can live off McDonald's until they're 100 and be healthy and have a great life. Go for it. Like, you've got to stop looking at what's right or wrong. Stop looking for the answer. You've got the answer. We just got to do the hard thing is doing the trial and error on your body and what works right now, because what works today may not work for you when you're in a different season. Whether you're trying to conceive or you're pregnant or afterwards or menopause or whatever, your body's always changing.
Exactly.
So I think that's a beautiful way of saying, yeah, we kind of went off topic there, but And the last thing I wanted to ask you too, that was on my list of things that I wanted to pick your brain about today, was what are some energetic self-care practices? Like, I know that we just talked about, or do we just talk about those, or are there other? Yeah, that's where I get confused with all the cleansing and the energetic, and we talked about that.
Yeah, no, well, it's, we did mention before a couple of ideas like spiritual self-care, and energetic self-care practices are quite closely linked here with spiritual self-care as well. So things like meditation, things like mindful practice or mindfulness, really, really good things that raise your energy. So this is it can be a little bit of a controversial, polarizing topic, especially in the spiritual realm, this notion of raising energy and vibration. For me personally, it is extremely important because it's very empowering. Being able to sort of raise your energy and vibration recognize when you're feeling low, when you're feeling drained, when you're feeling just really down, and it's almost like you can't explain it, maybe you're not quite sure why, but you just feel in the dumps, like really in that dark space. To be able to consciously say, you know what, I need to lift this up, I need to get out of this space, takes real power and it takes courage. And so raising your vibration is a beautiful thing to do with energetic self-care. So things like listening to your favorite songs, listening to an uplifting podcast or reading an uplifting book, or watching a movie that helps you maybe laugh or cry if there's a release there that needs to happen. Exercise, amazing for energy clearing and connection, as well as spiritual care, because it helps boost those endorphins, which helps trigger a lot of those positive emotions as well. So exercise, really important. Journaling, prayer, chanting, incantations, if that's your thing. Gratitude is another big one as well. Gratitude helps to connect us with that beautiful energy of abundance. And especially if any of your beautiful listeners are into things like manifesting and abundance mindset and all that kind of stuff, they should be definitely trying their hand at a gratitude practice every day.
Oh, wow. That's, it's just given us a really good, because I know there's so many different layers to this and you can get really in depth, but today was like an introduction to spiritual self-care, because I think for some people they don't think about it, or it's on their sometimes list, or it's on their, I've dabbled in that a little bit, but I don't know whether it's really for me.
Yeah.
I think by breaking it down to spiritual and then definitely energy self-care, I think that will help a lot of people understand that, because self-care is it's a great word because it is what it is, but it's directed in the wrong way sometimes. It's not just a face mask, or it's not just and that's where my business comes into. It's really deep stuff. Like it's really getting to know who you are and having your own back and being comfortable in your own skin, and knowing that we all look different and we're all going through different things. But it's so interesting because we all want to be the same. So we all want to look a certain way. Like we're all different. We've all got different backgrounds and different genetics and different stories, and we're here for so many different reasons. And that's what I said to a client the other day. Imagine if we were all attracted to one type of person. Like that'd be a bloodbath. But we all we all want to look exactly the same. We all want to be a certain way. And it's like, just be I'm really big on enabling women to be themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. Like showing up for yourself, not just for your physical and mental well-being, but for your emotional and your spiritual side as well. And one thing that I've been finding really interesting, with a lot of my research, I research a lot of studies and stuff. I do a lot of the secular things as well as the spiritual things, but spiritual self-care, and that has always had a little bit of a taboo to it, and especially the DSM-3 way back, would class spiritual practice as almost a mental illness. But it's only recently that more studies are coming out in the space that are showing the importance of a spiritual practice or spiritual self-care, and the benefits that it has with people around their resilience, around dealing with major crises in life, grief, suicide, all of these big things. Having that connection to spirit and to spiritual self has so many amazing benefits. And I can't wait to see more research in this field. I think it's going to be great.
I think it's great too, finding what works for you in your own way, because whatever religion, whatever belief, whatever background you've come from, you've got the ability to choose spiritual self-care that's right for you. So it's not necessarily spiritual. It could just be helping with your energy.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that's why I wanted to bring this to people today, because it could be the missing link in someone that really needs this now, and I just know what it's like. And I'm going through a shift right now. I can feel it. And I feel really low in energy and really, and what were some of the words that you stuck, and all those things you get before a big breakthrough, before growth.
Yeah.
I'm in that spot again. And I was in here maybe earlier this year. And then I find myself, it's a different spot, but it's when you're growing and changing and learning, I feel, and I'm just sitting in it. I'm just allowing myself to sit in it and things to come up and see what's going to come of it.
Beautiful. Yeah. Excellent.
And I think people can just see people from the outside and think, oh, they've got all their stuff together, but everyone goes through different seasons with growth and learning, and there's always, when you hit that level, then there's always another level, and there's always another level, right?
Absolutely.
So thank you so much for having a chat with me today. I can say with us, because I got Maisie on my knee, because it's rubbish day, and she has always hated the rubbish truck, so I'm just trying to. So while we wrap up, if anyone wants to get in contact with you and something today that they want to know more about and want to work with you, how can they get in contact with you?
Yeah, so you can contact me through my website, www.mindfulhealthandwellness.com.au. You can also find me on Facebook and Instagram, Mindful Health and Wellness, and also Lana Devjak, Psychic Medium. And you can also reach out via email. So if you're an email person or prefer that, you're most welcome to email me at info@mindfulhealthandwellness.com.au.
Lovely. And your inbox is always open, and you can work with clients in New Zealand or in Australia?
Absolutely. I have some amazing clients in New Zealand and in the UK and America. So we can get you there no matter what.
That is awesome. And you've got openings now for clients too, so if they want to reach out to you, you can work with them pretty much straight away?
Absolutely, yeah.
Excellent. Well, I just want to take the time to, even just thank you for taking the time to come on my podcast, but talk about something that I'd love to have you on again at some stage to dive deeper into the spiritual self-care.
Yeah, I love that.
So we'll definitely tee up another time, because I think it's really no one talks about it, and there isn't too much about it in the self-care side that I really would love to have it as part of a standard offering for my clients,
Sure.
to learn the side of things. So I'd love to have you back on, but thank you so much for bringing this to our attention and to talking about something that in a way that's quite easy to understand, and in a way that's really, you make it really interesting and really open to people that, like me, I was never into any of this kind of stuff. Like I said to you before we recorded, maybe 5 years ago, if anyone said to me I'd be talking about spiritual self-care, come on. That's not a Barbara thing. So I've come a long way, and that's what I mean. You learn to, as you age and as you learn things and you go through different things, you learn.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's it just all makes sense to me. It just can be that missing link to someone that I really hope today that we've helped someone that, maybe just feeling down and low, and they've talked to someone and they're eating the food and they're moving their bodies and they're doing the meditation, but they're like, you know what? I still feel really lost, or I feel really disconnected.
Yeah.
To just be that missing link of doing, a bit of history about the astrology side of things, or it might be getting a bit of guidance. It can really change people's lives. So thank you for everything that you do, Lana, and for sharing your gift with the world, because we definitely need more people like you out there.
Oh, that's amazing. Thank you so much for that. And thank you so much for giving me the time and space today to be able to share this with you, and for having me on your show. Thank you so much.
Oh, it's my pleasure. And I'll put all your contact details in the show notes as well. So if people want to get hold of you, and because you offer such an array of things, I feel like I haven't given it justice today in the podcast, because it was just we're dipping our toe into spiritual self-care and energy self-care. But let's get on again soon, and we can kind of dive a bit deeper into the topic to help more women out there.
Amazing. I can't wait. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed today's episode and it has inspired you on your self-care journey. Please feel free to share this with a friend and subscribe over on Apple Podcast. I really love hearing your feedback. So guys, please feel free to write a review on Apple and let me know which part of this episode resonated with you the most. To fall in love with yourself is the first secret to happiness. To find out a bit more about Self-Care Studio or the Studio Chat podcast, head over to my Instagram page, self_care_studio, or on my website, selfcarebybarbarathomson.com.au. Really look forward to seeing you on the next episode. Look after you, and I'll catch you soon. Bye!